2016, as filed by Pennsylvania Counseling Services Incorporated for a property located at 624 Cumberland Street in Lebanon. The property is located in the Central Business District. The property is a corner lot containing 0.69 deeded acres and is improved with a one-story office building and a parking lot. The appellant requests an appeal of an interpretation by the zoning officer in order to operate a day reporting center. Relief is being sought from, but not necessarily limited to, definition and/or unregulated uses. Solicitor of the city has asked that I be recused from this hearing.
And you and I have discussed that, and you agreed to recuse yourself. The city's also asked that Mr. Litz recuse himself as a result of his father-in-law being involved with the decision by the county of Lebanon regarding this particular project. I discussed the issue with Mr. Lynch, and I advised him that he should recuse himself as well. Appreciate that. So we have 3 board members. We'll be able to make a decision regarding this.
Mr. Kilgore, Kurt Williams from Salzman Hughes, representing Pennsylvania Counseling Services.
And I'm Scott Weiland. I'm Kurt Williams' partner, also representing the applicant.
Donald Brightfield, solicitor for the city of Lebanon.
If I could ask, Mr. Kilgore, what was the reason that the city gave for asking Mr. Hoffman to recuse himself?
Well, Mr. Hoffman is a close friend of Bob Phillips, who's on the Board of Commissioners for the County of Lebanon, and over a period of time, not knowing that we were going to have this procedure, had discussed the aspect of this with Mr. Phillips, and after hearing him, I talked about it. I said, I think legally you need to recuse yourself. Mr. Lynch is the son-in-law of one of the county commissioners who may or may not be a witness in these proceedings. He told me that there were 2 of the commissioners, Mr. Ames and Mr. Phillips, intended to be here at this hearing, so we've asked him to recuse himself as well.
We intend to just call Mr. Ames.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Ms. Davis, did the County of Lebanon join in the amended application? I don't remember what that one was marked, though, Mr. Kilgore.
It's marked collectively as one.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
And what brought about this application and appeal to the zoning hearing board?
Pennsylvania Counseling Services filed for a permit to add 3 offices to the location, 624 Cumberland Street. And we were denied the application on the basis that the zoning did not comply. They actually said that Karen Therefor, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say her last name. She said that the day reporting center would actually be an extension of the state penal or correctional system. Our former attorney asked and rebutted that. She indicated that it is more closely in line with a correctional facility or an extension thereof. Use of the day reporting center is it's really a community-based program, and it's for those within the criminal justice system who do not warrant incarceration. It's a program of recovery, and it's designed to help these individuals who are currently residents to receive additional services to assist them in maintaining employment and accountability relationships with their family and supervision staff, and assistance for successful living, and resulting in the end to contribution to the Lebanon community. Ultimately, the function of the program is to assist the individuals in amending their behavior and addressing the underlying needs that they have, which could be mental health, drug and alcohol. These needs which are halting them currently from remaining productive members of Lebanon County. Currently they go through a cycle of being incarcerated from time to time. They have to quit their job, lose their housing, and the idea is to support them in a well-rounded way so that this cycle can be broken and so that they can end up being, you know, citizens that contribute to the community rather than take from it. We will run the DRC on the basis of being a contracted provider for the county. It is their program, and we will be providing the services in conjunction and collaboration with the county.
As the county commissioners awarded a contract to PCS?
The county commissioners did award a contract to PCS, and yes.
Is this a new program for the county? Are there other DRCs in Lebanon County?
There are no other, this is new to Lebanon County. All candidates for the program are nonviolent offenders who live in the community, and this is a way to help them stay in the community and remain productive.
Does PCS also operate the building next door to the proposed location of the DRC?
Yes, we do. 618 Cumberland Street is one of our outpatient facilities.
Is that building also in the central business district?
It is.
What do you do in that building?
What we do in that building is we provide mental health treatment. We have several psychiatrists, so it's psychiatric treatment. And we also provide a lot of drug and alcohol treatment. And drug and alcohol treatment has varying levels of care.
That this program is not part of the correctional system, is that correct?
That's correct.
This is a printout from the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections that we just printed off the website today. And if you go to the second, third, fourth page of that, and the document says, quote, community correction continues to evolve and now includes a number of innovative concepts called community reentry services, which began in December 2013. These services include the very first one, day reporting services. Does that surprise you to see that in the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections on their website?
Not at all, because the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections does run day reporting centers. This is not the same.
So your position is what you're proposing, what you and the county are proposing, is different than what we see under the Department of Corrections for their day reporting services?
I would assume it is because we did not design it after this program.
Will you have probation officers at the facility where the day reporting center is located?
We've been asked to provide 2 offices for them. We understand that they have also office space at on Oak Street. So I'm not sure when they'll be there and when they won't be, but there are offices there.
Karen Zaporozek,
And could you spell your last name?
Zaporozec.
It was thrown out, this is what we're proposing. What were they proposing?
They proposed a day reporting center, and I had a couple sentences on what he explained what that was.
And by the way, when he contacted you by email, you're saying it was just kind of like, hey, what you think type thing? Or how did you view that type of contact?
Yeah, a lot of times people are always calling the zoning officer, calling or emailing me, you know, hey, what if, you know, what do you think of this? You know, just to kind of get a feeling of, you know, where it would fit or if it wouldn't fit.
And as a result of receiving that inquiry regarding a day reporting center, what did you do?
I had never heard of a day reporting center. So when I started to inquire about it, the first thing I did was called a bunch of my zoning colleagues in Lancaster County, who we meet, you know, quarterly, and asked if any of them had ever dealt with or heard of that.
And in addition to that, did you do any research on the topic?
Yeah, I had asked some of the girls in the office that helped me. I just said, you know, jump online and see what they could find on that.
Does the Lebanon City zoning ordinance have provisions for a day reporting center?
No.
As a result of your investigation, your research, what decision did you make?
Well, after all of that, at the end, I denied it because I didn't feel that it was an office as they were trying to come in, or an extension of what they were already doing as an office. So I denied that as a use not permitted in the central business district.
How did you communicate your decision?
Well, knowing that it was who some of the players were, every time I'm gonna deny something, I do meet with the mayor on a monthly or twice a month basis to inform her about, you know, what's going on in zoning amongst all the other issues that I deal with, just to give her a heads up, because that's the first office that gets all the phone calls.
And did you meet with the mayor regarding this and update her?
Yes.
And then how did you communicate to the individuals requesting your interpretation?
I sent an email back to the attorney, and I sent an official letter, which coordinated all with an official submission later in writing by them, which responded officially in writing by me back to the applicant.
What was your stated reason for denying?
That it did not comply with the intent of the central business district.
In your letter to Josh Litz on October 28th, you said that you researched other land use cases. What other
Well, I
jurisdictions?
had some of the girls,
Well, you specifically said land use cases. So I'm asking what jurisdictions and what cases did you reference, did you research? I believe I'm reading that this case, I just was handed this, I believe it's from the city of Kansas in the state of Kansas,
Okay.
correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's not a Pennsylvania case,
No,
okay. And so you have two more,
no,
Right.
these are the ones I just talked about.
right?
Yeah,
There's a total of 3
right.
cases that you researched. One was from Kansas. Can I see the other 2? And one of those, you said, we talked about earlier, was the case from Williamsport. That's the Sun Gazette case here. And in that case, the Day Reporting Center was approved as a government use, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to object. You know, this calls for legal conclusion, and that's not her area.
No, it goes to the letter that she sent, and based upon my research, it's legitimate cross-examination over there.
So this Sun Gazette case from Williamsport, the Day Reporting Center was approved in this case, correct?
Well, at that time, I'm looking for what is a day reporting center. I'm looking for definitions of what it is.
I'm asking you, was it approved in this case
Yeah,
as a government use?
right.
Okay. The third case came out of what jurisdiction?
Day reporting center in Southwest Philly.
Based on a variance or the Day Reporting Center as a permitted use of some sort?
They were a zoning variance, which would have permitted the building of a day reporting center.
And as zoning officer, you're very familiar with the law that encompasses zoning, correct, or variances, correct?
I'm very familiar. I wouldn't consider myself, you know, a certified expert. I've been working in it for 20 years.
Are there 5 statutory requirements
Yes.
for a variance?
Yes.
And someone getting a variance approved for a use is quite different than whether the use is classified as a permitted use or not, correct?
Say that again?
If someone is applying for a variance for a use, there are 5 statutory requirements.
Mm-hmm.
That's a vastly different standard than whether someone is applying for a use based on it being permitted or not in the ordinance.
Right.
So the research that you relied on, one case was a variance, one case the Day Reporting Center was approved as a government use, and one case was from Kansas. That's the extent of your research?
Yes, because yes.
Okay. Did you research the particular zoning ordinances of any of those 3 jurisdictions?
No.
Your email of October 27th, that the Day Reporting Center is not specifically addressed in the city zoning ordinance, correct?
Right. We don't have a use that's.
Have you ever approved in the city a state penal corrections facility or similar type
No.
establishment?
No.
Never. So are you familiar with the Municipalities Planning Code?
I am.
Okay. Are you familiar
Don't
with,
ask me to quote it.
are you familiar with section 603.1?
No.
Okay. That section requires zoning officer to interpret the ordinance where doubt exists in favor of the property owner and against any implied restrictions.
In interpreting the language of zoning ordinances to determine the extent of the restriction upon the use of the property, the language shall be interpreted where doubt exists as to the intended meaning of the language written and enacted by the governing body in favor of the property owner and against any implied extension of the restriction.
You said you consulted the mayor before sending out the October 27th email and October 28th letter?
Right, I always make sure that knows what's coming.
Did the mayor have any input as to the content of the letter or your determination?
She knew about the day reporting center that I'd gotten the email from. She was going to try and meet with some of the commissioners to see if we could all sort of work this out. But at that point, I had already I basically made my interpretation quite early. I just chose to go a little bit farther because of the impact of this.
What kind of impact?
Well, it's a county project. PCS is a big player in town. It's a wonderful program, but in my opinion, I just didn't believe that it fit with that central business district zoning.
You called it a county program just now.
Well, yeah.
So your testimony is it is a county program then?
Well, I know that now.
Did you ever call the applicant and requested additional information about the day reporting center before you issued your determination?
No. Because a central business district, in my interpretation, is for shops, boutiques, restaurants, a retail environment.
So you didn't look at it and see professional office? You didn't look at it and see medical office? Is that correct?
No.
Did you see municipal use in what you were presented with?
No.
So multifamily apartments are permitted in the central business district, correct?
Above the first floor.
And hotels are permitted.
Hotels are?
How about boarding houses? But if the requirements are met, a boarding house would be permitted.
Correct.
How about public utility installation?
By special exception.
And what about churches?
Churches are permitted.
Are any of those uses I just listed, are they retail shopping uses?
No.
None of them are.
Right.
If you turn to 1323.01M in the ordinance.
Right.
And that section allows for municipal uses in every zoning district, correct?
Correct.
Municipal uses are allowed in every zoning district in the city, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if someone came to you, the chief of police, and wanted to put in a police station in the downtown, in the central business district, you would approve that?
I don't just say, yeah, I would look and convert like I did with this one, you know?
Converse with who?
The book.
Okay. Well, this seems to be the section on
You know.
municipal uses. So you may not approve a police station as a municipal use.
Well, I may, I have that right. If I feel that just me, one person in the whole city, that other people should look at it and get their input, then first of all, we would probably, knowing it's the police station, we would have a lot of staff meetings to discuss it. But, if that's why I defer a lot of things to the zoning hearing board, so other eyes can look at it and impacts are discussed.
Isn't it a requirement that the zoning officer interpret the zoning ordinance literally? If an applicant came to you to have a dentist's office approved in the central business district, would you approve that application? Would you approve that use?
I'm going to object.
Okay, what about an eye doctor?
I would consider that a medical office.
Would
would you consider an extension of the correctional system to meet a use in the central business district?
No.
Sherry Capello, Capello.
And your position?
Mayor of the City of Lebanon.
And
The utmost respect for the county commissioners, the judges, the probation, and the treatment and recovery providers. Not opposed to a day reporting center, but rather the zone in which the day reporting center is proposed to be located. Our position is twofold as it relates to zoning and the business improvement district in the city. Regarding zoning, the zoning ordinance does not specifically address this type of use, and the interpretation of the city, not the zoning officer, this is just the city's position, is we do not interpret it to be simply counseling. It's a prison diversion program. It's a new type of correctional facility, and that concept is according to the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections and just the described use of it, and asked them if they would consider amending the zoning ordinance to address the specific use, and they agreed to do that. During the process of the city preparing for a zoning amendment, the appellant submitted an appeal to the zoning officer's interpretation or determination, and so we did not pursue it any further. The other side of this, besides the zoning, is our business improvement district, which is similar to an overlay district. The bid steering committee had a consultant perform an evaluation of the downtown, and perception is a concern. The perception that crime is a problem and crime is decreasing in the city of Lebanon, which is inaccurate, but it is a perception problem.
do you agree with the decision that was made by the zoning officer that this project is not compatible with the business district, the downtown business district?
I do agree with the zoning officer's determination.
Are you opposed with having a day reporting center in the city of Lebanon?
No.
In fact, have you talked with both PCS and county officials about locating it within the city just outside of the downtown business district and the BIF?
That's correct.
And you've actually presented that proposal to those individuals?
Yes.
How many years have you had in the zoning field?
I believe I served on my local zoning hearing board in the mid-'80s, 84, 85, approximately 2 years.
And
then worked for the county for about 10 years, Palmyra Borough around 11, Derry Township 18 months, and now the city of Lebanon, which at the city of, actually while I was the mayor, we were, had a vacancy in our zoning officer position, and I did fill the position of zoning officer for the city of Lebanon for a period of time. But in reality, the mayor is not the zoning officer. It was for the local municipality. It was to allow that municipal use in any zoning district. And in some zoning districts, it even allows you to have exceptions to setbacks and whatnot.
But am I correct that there is no business improvement district in place right now?
The city council did adopt an ordinance, yes.
All right, so it's part of the ordinance, part of the map?
It is similar to an overlay district, but it is not in the zoning ordinance. It acts like an overlay district.
It's not in the zoning ordinance?
No,
So the zoning officer does not enforce it?
no.
Okay. So the zoning officer cannot base her decisions on what the business improvement district ordinance says or doesn't say? Does the zoning hearing board interpret the business improvement district law?
No.
Does the zoning officer interpret the business improvement district law?
No.
Okay. You said that you served as the mayor for a time and also as a zoning officer for the city of Lebanon.
Yes.
And you have a lot of zoning experience, right? And you're familiar with the Municipalities Planning Code?
It was a very short period of time. We wanted to keep permits being issued, so.
Under section 614, I'm wondering, that section says that an elected official cannot serve as a zoning officer.
Are you gonna have me arrested?
Were you consulted, or the zoning officer said she did talk to you about the application and her determination regarding the day reporting center, correct? What was the nature of that conversation, that consultation? Did you influence the zoning officer at all in her determination?
No, the zoning officer and I talk, we share, but I do not influence her determinations. There are times when I have not agreed with what she has interpreted or determined. And I feel very strongly about that because I was a zoning officer, and I would never want to put that pressure on my employee.
Are you aware of a right-to-know request that I filed within the past week?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically what the mayor talked about in terms of the approach to myself and Mr. Carey, who's also on council with regard to the possibility of addressing this through an amendment to the ordinance, that certainly took place. I want to share my concern in the same way that Mr. Morrissey has expressed his concern about the use of this in a central business district. We think it's problematic. We think that it clearly, although there's been an attempt during the course of this hearing to characterize this as just a doctor's office or a professional office. Well, it's not a professional office. There are going to be a number of people who are going to be coming through the criminal justice system, no matter how you want to characterize it as the corrective system or whatever. There are people who've committed violations of the crimes code. They've gone through the criminal justice system. They're going to be attending there on a daily basis. And clearly, I think that this is an issue where the attempts to characterize this as merely a professional office are not accurate, and they're not in accordance with reality. And finally, I found it interesting with regard to this issue of municipal uses. There was reference to the dictionary, Webster's, when we talked about certain definitions, but when it came to the definition of municipality, we used the Municipalities Planning Code. Well, I would ask that the board consider what's the reasonable and ordinary use of the term municipality. And in Pennsylvania, although the Municipalities Planning Code does address counties in terms of having a role, municipalities are considered townships, boroughs, and cities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I think that that's the common usage of that term. And to talk about the fact that a county is a municipal use, a county facility. And certainly there are county facilities within the city. The probation department is in the city, but it's not in the central business district. And so, again, I'm just asking that the board take that into account in terms of their consideration of this issue, and that's essentially all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr.
Witness that the day reporting center will become a part of Lebanon County Correctional System. This is not a typical office. Make no mistakes about that. We will have probation officers in. They have offices in this facility. We will have very heavy involvement by the district attorney, the top cop in Lebanon County. We will have judicial involvement. We will have the probation system. It's a great idea. The city applauds the county commissioners. But this is not appropriate for the central business district. And there are facilities within the city of Lebanon that this is appropriate, where it meets the zoning ordinance. On top of that, and I understand council's argument, but the mayor talks very strongly about the bid district, the overlay district. Fascinating, the two gentlemen who aren't here any longer but came and spoke. We've never spoken with them. And these are two property owners in the bid district who have very, very grave concerns. We would have hoped, which is why the city met with the commissioners and with PCS, that this could have been worked out. I don't see why this couldn't. But this does not meet a use that is appropriate for the central business district. We would ask that the zoning hearing board finds in that way. Thank you for your time.
Whether the use is classified as a corrections use is really irrelevant. It's what the zoning ordinance says, and there are three theories that this could fit. It could be a professional office, and we've established that what goes on inside the building is professionals working with patients, working with participants. We've established that it's also a medical office, which is a permitted use in the central business district. Clearly there are medical professionals, licensed therapists and counselors, working with patients and participants. And third, and I think most importantly, it's a municipal use. The city has conceded that it's a county program. And the Municipalities Planning Code, which is the governing law, the governing definition that we need to work under since it's not defined in the city zoning ordinance, is that a fifth-class county is a municipality. So it's a municipal use. Municipal uses under the city's own zoning ordinance are permitted in every zoning district. There can't be any dispute about that. So the narrow issue before the board tonight is not whether you like the day reporting center idea, not whether you think it should be located in the OI district, whether you think the county should be getting more state money, not state money, privatized. Those are irrelevant. Whether it fits or not into one of those three categories, medical office, professional office, or municipal use. That's the narrow issue before the board, and your interpretation of those three uses and whether this fits into any of those is the narrow issue for you tonight.
All right, we'll reconvene the hearing. The board has had the opportunity to review the exhibits and to listen to testimony for almost the past 4 hours. And discuss the legal issues with the solicitor. And based upon that, is any board member prepared to make a motion?
I move we reject it.
The application?
Yes.
And how about the decision of the zoning officer?
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. I move the relief requested by applicant be denied and oh my God, my writing's horrible. Determination of zoning office be upheld.
I second that motion. Second the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Within 45 days of today's date, I'll send you a written decision. You obviously know you have 30 days from that to file an appeal in Court of Common Pleas. We thank everybody for their courtesy.